It's great to be with you again, even if it's on Zoom. I know my better half is there with you in the sanctuary, and he will grace us with music at the end of my talk. The talk this morning is going to be about joy. And I'd like for you to think for a minute about what brings you joy. We think of joy being something outside that comes to us, but truly, joy is inside of us. And we let it out. And when we let it out, it kind of sparks that joy in others. As I've reflected these last couple of years, on one of the things I reflected on was the talks I've given. I have uh, a lot of paper in my garage where I worked, uh, of talks that I prepared, and I really never gave them because once I got started, I got off script. And so these are my notes for today. And what it was something I found in the garage about joy, which I believe is between our ears. And it's not dependent on circumstances. I think it's kind of dependent on our knowledge that everything is okay, that God's in charge, that all things work together for good. We can reach joy from the inside through our mind or through our heart. And one of the first things in this just list of items that I found about joy was perspective. What is our perspective? And I recently had a birthday, and my wonderful sister-in-law gave me a coaster that I'd like to share with you. Speaking of perspective, I think you can tell which one would bring us the better end. Namaste means I behold the Christ in you. And that's a way that we can connect with other people and share our belief that we're one. I'll cut you with something altogether different that we don't even need to go into. So if we start from a place from our perspective that God's in charge and all things work together for good, that takes away some of our fear and allows joy some room in our hearts. Another thing that would aid us in discovering more joy and producing more joy is humility. And to me, I've thought about these words. And to me, humility means knowing that I'm not God. God is, and it's not me. I'm a part of God, and I believe today that I'm an important part of God. But He's the director, and I'm His agent. And what a glorious place to be not in charge. The Course in Miracles passage that we read every week says that I don't have to worry about what to say or what to do, because He who directs me will guide me. I don't have to worry about where I go because I know He goes there with me. Hallelujah. I've thought about these words over, the last several months, just these words, because I want to fill the space between my ears with positive things. I'm responsible for my happiness and for my joy. Abraham Lincoln said most people are about as happy as they want to be. I want to be happy, and I need to focus on positive things. Unity is referred to as positive Christianity. I like that. When I was going over this list in my mind, knowing I wanted to keep positive things in my mind, I couldn't remember one of them the other day. And I was like, what is that? What is that? And finally, when I looked up in the morning, it was humor. How could I forget humor? Uh, if you think of a joke, something that just tickles you and being delighted, I mean, that just brings joy into your life. Uh, I think my purpose in our family, we all have our roles, and mine was to provide comic relief. My family was way too serious. They didn't talk a lot, and mm, it was my job to keep things stirred up, and I did a good job. Um, humor. If you can lighten somebody when somebody's down, I mean, it's not always appropriate to do a joke, but a little humor can lighten the mood. And my mother, I've shared this before, but close to the end, she said, "Oh well, it really doesn't matter." And we need to remember that about things that we worry about. It really doesn't matter, because as the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous tells me, acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. So if I get to somewhere in my mind, and I have, uh, if it's something that I can do nothing about, I can accept it, knowing that God's with me and all is well. Acceptance. These are all things that we can think about in our minds that will help lead us to joy. Joy is the most infallible sign of the presence of God. When we're not joyful, what we need is more God. And God is everywhere. Let's move now into our heart space. And I have I just love children, especially little children and their glee. I picture them at the beach, just splashing through the little waves like ducks. Uh, and glee is apparent. So when I think about children, that helps to open my heart. And I want to move into the area of the heart to think about ways that we can foster more joy in our life. One thing that keeps us away from connecting with others and bringing joy into our life is resentment. So we need to begin the heart space with forgiving those that we think have wronged us. And I can tell you personally that for me, that's been a real long journey. But I'm glad to say that I'm much lighter now, and I have forgiven those that I wrongly thought had betrayed me or wronged me in some way. I believe now that they were doing their very best, and I'm able to love them again. And I'm grateful for that. But I'm getting ahead of myself. But not very much, because forgiveness does lead us to gratitude, which is another space in our heart that leaves room for joy. When I think about the things I'm grateful for, unity comes to mind. Course in Miracles comes to mind. Many of you individually come to mind. I've been so blessed with my association with the unity principles that remind me that my thoughts are important, that I need to guard my mind. I'm grateful for my home, for finding love, even this late in my life. It's never too late for love. I'm grateful to be alive. Another area of the heart that makes more room for joy because it helps us to connect with others is compassion. Remember the first time I felt compassion, and that was for myself. And it was during some anger work where I was beating on a pillow thinking that was the stupidest thing I'd ever done. But if I could just get through this, then I'd get out of town and they wouldn't bug me anymore. But while I was beating on this thing, thinking, whatever, somebody pushed on my back and I actually got angry. And in the middle of that anger, I found my 8-year-old little girl. And I was moved to tears. And I like picked her up off the floor. I kind of dumped myself when I was 8. So I developed a little compassion for myself. And that helped me to forgive myself for whatever, and that forgiving ourselves goes on and on and on. Uh, when I realized the presence of God in my life, the reality of God, it changed me at a very deep level and helped me connect more with others. Uh, living is such a process that we need to be engaged in. We all want to be happy, joyous, and free. And it is on the menu. Uh, and I choose joy. I choose joy. And I choose to be compassionate with myself and others. And all of this leads to many things, I'm sure, but on the list that I've been thinking about, the last thing was gratitude. When we have fostered all of these other things and our heart is open, we we can't help but want to give. Generosity is the last thing on the list. And I'm remembering one of the things that they say, and hey, you can't keep it unless you give it away. Joy is really a great thing to give away because with all of the spiritual gifts, it's like you don't get less. It just extends that gift. It's our joy. It's our joy and our mission to extend joy, to extend love to our brothers and sisters, to remember that we're part of a community. One of the great joys of my life is service. I mean, I've always believed and been told and discovered for myself that there's great joy in serving others. Because for one thing, it gets us out of ourselves, which is I know being in myself can be a real tight loop. But let's resolve today to be generous with ourselves, with our community, with our positive thoughts. Let us remember that we are as God created us. We are not less than, or any other imaginings that we have come up with in our own minds. I'd like to close with a meditation where we come together in truth and in oneness and remember who we are. Let's think for a moment before we go together into meditation of the things that bring us joy. And let's take a deep breath, thinking of those joyful things. And close your eyes as you exhale and allow yourself to relax and sink. Gracious God, we thank you for this day, for this time in our lives, for this holy instant. We ask that you be with us and steady us as we allow ourselves to relax even more. Sacred space of spirit. And so it is. Best is yet to come. Is a line from, I'm sure, several things, but I'm really grateful that Neil, being with you, is going to be able to play for you now. He'll introduce his song, and I want to get part credit for his part of this. Anyway, thank you. I love you. Go enjoy. Go in peace. Namaste.